The second Global Business Summit presented by the Economic Times and Airtel saw a dedicated effort by the government of Uttar Pradesh to attract investment. To this effect, the state set up a UP pavilion at the event which was host to many interactions, chief among them being the one-on-one meetings that were organized with national and international delegations. Mahesh Gupta, Principal Secretary for Infrastructure and Industrial Development in UP, led these meetings from the government side.
We are very delighted to have the invitation from the UP government to have a conversation regarding UP government's ambition to set up a pharma park. And what we told them in our meeting is we will definitely talk to our industry association and take the news and setting up a meeting with the association and see how to take this idea forward, because we need to set up an ecosystem. And there are various ways in which UP government can take this forward.
The discussion really centered around four basic possible pivots across for the growth of textile and apparel industry in Uttar Pradesh. The first was a PPP model where they were looking at public-private partnership. There are 9 SIC units of National Textile Corporation, which are the plan is to revive them, and they're looking for some kind of a private partnership. The second part of the discussion was around Skill India program, and they're very keen that we look at UP as one of the very strong supply side market and see if we can, through our interventions, make them employable by imparting the relevant skills in textile and apparel industry. The third part of discussion was this large amount of skillmanship and craftsmanship that UP has in handloom and weaver, especially ethnics. So they're looking at some kind of a trade model of ownership of some of these small-time micro-entrepreneurs which are there with a large industry. I think it's a fairly innovative business model that will be required, and there are some very, very good thoughts that got discussed there. And the fourth was possibility of technical textiles, which is growing in a very rapid way, and looking at UP as possibly the source of manufacturing for us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege and honor to be here to address this August gathering. Uttar Pradesh is poised to attract infrastructure and industrial investments. It has come up with its policy in 2012. Many attractive fiscal and non-fiscal incentives have been provided for. They include stamp duty exemptions, concessions related to commercial tax, capital subsidy and interest-free loan, incentives for MSME, market and brand development assistance, research and development assistance, special incentives for mega projects, electricity duty exemption, exemption from mandi fees, industrial quality scheme, EPF reimbursement scheme, and so on. We have sector-specific policies for focus sectors to drive inward investments. This includes food processing, industrial policy 2012, IT policy 2012, electronics manufacturing policy 2014, solar power policy 2013, poultry policy, and so many others. The industrial policy of Uttar Pradesh also provides for customized policy for mega investments and super mega investments. We have already done 8 letter of comfort have been issued to 8 units, which include the investment to the tune of 7,500 crores just in July 15. UP is also poised to ease out the business in Uttar Pradesh. In the recent assessment of state implementation of business reforms by World Banks and DIPP, Uttar Pradesh ranked among the top 10 states in India. The labor regulation, environmental related regulations, commercial tax, power department, and all the departments which are stakeholder departments for the industrial ease out business, they are working in a business friendly atmosphere. Many amendments have been done and changes have been done in the rules and regulations and procedures. We have developed a single window system. The Nivesh Mitra is on. It is ranked one of the best single window portal by erstwhile Planning Commission in 2014. 92% applications disposed of in 2014-15, and 12 departments already have SMS notification procedures. We also have online monitoring in Udyog Bandhu. The grievance redressal system, it is a statewide portal for timely resolution of investors' grievances and all concerns. We organize Samadhan Divas every Thursday at state headquarters, and also we are going to put it in position in all the district headquarters. The Director of Industries, Department of Industrial and Infrastructure Development, MSME, and so many other departments are poised to help the growth of industrial and infrastructure in Uttar Pradesh. You are always welcome. I welcome on behalf of Honorable CM UP and myself, and I'm sure when you join hands with UP, you will never be disappointed. Thank you very much.
Kathleen, welcome to the Global Business Summit in India. It's your first trip here. First impressions about our country?
Well, it's a thrill to be here, let me just say. I have for so many years known so many people in Ontario who were born and raised here and have family here, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to be here. Everyone has been gracious, and I think there's huge opportunity for India and Ontario to work together.
Right, and what are the key sectors that you're looking at as far as partnerships with India are
So we
concerned?
have a delegation of about 75 people with us. They are people from a variety of sectors: clean technology, information technology. We have representatives of some of our universities here with us as well. So I think there are many opportunities. Prime Minister Modi talked yesterday about smart cities, and that's one of the areas that I think we can find ways of working together, because many of the skills that we have, many of the businesses that we have are looking to make investment, looking for partnerships, and so the Smart Cities Initiative covers so many things: clean water, clean air, electricity, infrastructure, and in all of those areas we have expertise that we have brought with us.
Right. And as far as Indians in Canada are concerned, there's a lot of us out there. So how has the Indian community in Canada contributed to the economic growth there, and what are the opportunities that you'd like to share to bring more Indians to Canada?
Yeah. Well, I would say the Indian community has contributed in every way. In every sector of our society, professionally, in terms of small businesses, entrepreneurial, academic, in every way, and culturally. As a leader from Ontario, I come to India, and there are many things that are familiar. So I was actually in a colony yesterday, the Sunlight Colony yesterday, with the ASHA project, right, talking with kids who have managed to make their way to college, and they were asking me about Ontario and was there opportunity. There were a number of children who wanted to be journalists, and they were asking me what's different. Well, there are many things that are different, but many things that are shared. So I was asked what my favorite food was, and I've had a lot of Indian food, so it's been very much an experience of feeling like we have so many connections because of the families who live in Ontario, and those connections help us in the business connections.
Right. And I also believe you are working with a lot of Indian states across sectors. Can you tell us more about that?
So we are going to be signing 5 memoranda of understanding. We are looking to work on all of those areas that I was talking to you about. So whether it's infrastructure, whether it's electricity, whether it's clean technology, we have a number of clean tech companies that we've brought with us. And I think that there are opportunities as this major agenda that Prime Minister Modi has put in place. He acknowledged that he is looking to the world for partnerships and support. And we are working together globally on climate change. I'm going to be making some remarks, and I'm going to be talking about climate change as a hugely important imperative for all of us in the world, but also as an opportunity for businesses, because we're going to have to work together to solve this challenge.
Sure. And Make in India is one of the ambitious projects that Prime Minister Modi has launched. And what sort of opportunity do you see in India as far as manufacturing is concerned, and what are the strengths that Canada can bring to India in this?
Well, it's interesting because Ontario really is at the heart of our manufacturing industry in Canada. Ontario is the largest manufacturer in the country, and so we have a huge amount of expertise. And I think what we can offer is that facility, that ability to understand manufacturing and systems. And the other thing is that right now, all of us are going through a transformation from traditional manufacturing to advanced manufacturing. And I think that the technological expertise that we have in Ontario, connected with the desire to have an advanced manufacturing sector in India, I think that's where we can make that connection.
All right. And if you had to evaluate the Indian business environment currently, how would you evaluate that?
I'd say it's optimistic and energized. I think that Prime Minister Modi's agenda is very clear. I think businesses see that they need to step up, and I think that there is opportunity for us to partner, and certainly the Indo-Canadian community in Ontario sees opportunities to give back and to expand their own businesses, working with in partnership with Indian businesses. So I see it as a very opportune moment for Ontario and India to work together.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We have an illustrious panel here with us to talk about the topic of Make in India, unleashing India's potential. So what will it take, or what are we already doing, which will help us unleash it? We will start with Dr. Hans Bahl, who's chairman of BCG. And Dr. Hans Bahl, in your vantage point as you travel around the world and meet CEOs, it'll be good to hear about what do you think are global investors looking for this?
Not only recently, but over many years, there is an enormous interest by companies and investors from all over the world to do business in India. Clearly, it is the country with a very large and soon the largest population in the world. So there is a huge market to cater to in consumer goods, in industrial goods. And ideally, of course, you want to produce products on the ground. And you want to make sure that you really also are customizing your offering to the needs of the Indian people. At the same time, I think because of the strengths of the Indian engineers, there's also a great opportunity to export from India. So clearly, India as a manufacturing base is the objective of many of the investors around the world. What is needed, of course, are predictability, reliability, and stability. Because ultimately, the long-term investments can only happen if people feel they know what to expect.
I would now request Honorable Minister of Defence, Mr. Parrikar, if you could share your perspective, sir, please.
I believe, for one, that the less the government is in any manufacturing sector, faster it will progress. In defense, export, we have almost removed all the restrictions. And I promise that during 16, there will be easier methods by which you can export very easily, even certain higher-end material. For purchase, we are reducing many of the framework. 49% FDI was absolutely essential. Case-to-case basis, we can even consider more in technologies where they are difficult to be given to the local companies. We can consider even above 49. Even that process has been now reduced to only the ministerial level rather than the cabinet level, which was much more difficult.
Thank you very much, Minister. I would now request Honorable Minister of Railways, Mr. Prabhu, to share his perspective.
To make in India, there are many sectors. My good friend, Mr. Parrikar, has already explained. The railways could also play a significant part. We already issued tenders for $7 billion of diesel and electric locomotives, which will be truly globally the best technology, most environment friendly, most energy efficient, and which will transform the way we do the railway operations in India. We already issued and we already finalized another very big Make in India initiative, and all of that $7 billion will be made in India, The other component is almost $16 billion plus high-speed railways. 85% will be made in India. There are other 3 or 4 major projects. One in West Bengal, we are trying to do train sets, which will be in other part. We We are already working on the manufacturing initiative, all told, will be another at least $20–25 billion. And we'll be at a very advanced stage of negotiation, which will happen anytime. The important ecosystem that will get developed because of this will be unimaginable. So if you really look at it, I am very sure that this is something which is a mission, not a slogan. And this is not Make in India. This is making of tomorrow's India by making investment in today's India.
And Michael, I'm going to drop on you first. Hearing the ministers talk about their vision for where they want to take the country and what all is already in the works. And a lot has happened in a very short period of time. You know, a huge amount of impetus has gotten created. We've stayed stagnant for a very long, many decades, and a huge impetus has got created. How are you feeling about it?
I'm really delighted that you approach one global requirement, that is mobility, increasing mobility. The problem, in my opinion, doesn't stop when you just have fast-going trains. You need the whole infrastructure. You need the stations. And please, when you do that, let's go to a smart solution. I'm talking about feeder system, when somebody has to go from one track to the others, and you have their long distances in between. Bring this also in, because otherwise the bottleneck is just shifted for one end. And we take that very serious as company, and we are making just a major investment in Pune in order to have these feeder systems, electronic guided feeder systems, available here in the country. Make in India, not coming from outside.
SNS, if I could draw you into the discussion, how are you taking this forward?
On the manufacturing side, as you know, huge capacities have been created in certain critical areas which are absolutely required from the future economy point of view, whether it be power production, whether it be nuclear power plant of the future, whether it's shipbuilding, or whether it is certain other aspects of critical nature from the critical manufacturing point of view, the deep-rooted manufacturing point of view. So when the investments do come in, and when the world is looking, the rest of the world is looking bad and major investments are directed into India, one of the things that we had to be very clear is that the capacities that have been built up in the country, and thereby the talent which has been created towards taking these capacities that have been built up forward are fully utilized, or to the extent possible utilized, with not just lip service, but with the background that things have to be done out here. We can develop the country, but at the end of the day, if leadership, both managerial and at the working level, skill sets are not available, we cannot take the country forward. So skill development, which is also an important aspect of the present government, if it can be taken forward with utmost care and deep-rooted belief that skill is ultimately where the nation will go, it will be great.
Secretary Kant, from your perspective, what are the expectations from now that a lot of things have been done, what are the expectations from the corporate sector?
India must grow on the strength of domestic businesses. They must invest, and in the long term, it's very, very important to make India an extremely easy and simple place to do business in. We've made India very, very complex, very complicated, and very difficult place to do business in. We need to just break down all these rules, regulations, laws, and acts, because for 68 years, we've grown with the fact that every businessman is a criminal till he proves otherwise. And you need to completely overhaul that whole thing and make India the easiest and simplest place to do business in. I think the second key important thing is we must understand that we are in a globalized world, and you can't unleash India's manufacturing till you don't become cost competitive. Countries which have grown for long periods have done this on total factor productivity. And that is going to be the key, and our whole focus must shift to enhancing productivity. And thirdly, to my mind, it must be understood that India can't unleash growth over a long period of time till we don't have a minimum of 10 to 11 states growing at rates of 12 to 13% for 3-decade period. And fourth point I want to make is that you will see India on a very high trajectory growth rate over a long period of time, and you would have unleashed manufacturing in a very, very big way through this structural transformation.
I'm going to call on you. You've been in the resources sector for a long time. What's your perspective?
Yeah, thank you. I think the good news, and I bring the real potential, is that India's got a tremendous mineral endowment. If you think about the geology, it's the same type of geology that is in Australia, and we know what's happened with the minerals in the energy sector in Australia. It's just a big driver for their whole economy. That's really what is the vision. To get there, there's a lot of unrealized potential along the way. So far the sector is probably undercapitalized, and you don't see enough of the international players coming in here. So we got to attract more of the international players. So I think the Make in India agenda can be completely tied into the Find of India agenda. That's the future today. Every one of the CEOs here, we're big customers of yours. So we're actually out there. We're providing business to the manufacturing sector, the building sector, the fabricating sector, and the services sector and the healthcare sector. So we can be all part of this solution.
Sunita, you're here, right? And you represent the medical and the whole medtech industry as well. How do you see technology changing that, and what role can that play in Make in India?
Before we look at Make in India, let's look at the Indian first. I think Shri Amitabh Kant referred to the productivity of India, and the minister spoke about investing in the future. So unless you invest in the individual, I don't think that you will have a great future. In 2013, we lost 40 million man days because of ill health, and people who couldn't go to work because of ill health. India today, Indian healthcare contributes to 5.7% of GDP, and that's around $60 billion, out of which 48 billion is coming from the private sector. So I believe that technology and healthcare have a huge place to play in the future of India's economy.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Global Business Summit, Randy.
Thank you. It's exciting to be back in India.
Wonderful. It's so good to have you. And Zuckerberg Media works with some of the biggest brands in the world. What are the sort of digital lessons that you can share for our Indian entrepreneurs here?
Number one lesson that I've learned in my own business that I think other businesses should learn is that every business needs to think of themselves as a media company today.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you have a product, a service, a B2B, you still have to be a media company. You still have to think about putting out content that is engaging, entertaining, that really attracts people on social media and online. I think the key is to not feel like you need to be on every media platform. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who feel like they need to be on every social media platform, every single app and website. I would say pick the 3 or 4 that are best for your business, where your customers are, and really double down on making your presence great.
You and your brother are, of course, pioneers in social media. So when it comes to micro enterprises or startups, how does one really leverage the potential of social media to its maximum? And what should be the objectives that a startup is looking to achieve with social media?
If you're just starting up in the space, social media is great for you personally as an entrepreneur to connect with investors, to meet other startup founders, so you have almost that mentorship network. I always encourage entrepreneurs to join kind of entrepreneur groups online so they can talk to each other about the challenges that they're having, and it's also a great way to get press, connect with journalists like yourself. Entrepreneurs should definitely reach out to someone like you online. So social media can be great both for your business and for you personally in your career development.
So do you think it is about linking your brand to the external environment that's really around you in the world?
I think so. I think that kind of going back to what we were saying before, that every brand needs to be a media company. I think it's really important for brands to be thinking of themselves as content creators, not just as product creators.
Right. What are you looking forward to in India in the next couple of days?
For me, I'm really excited about meeting startups here, about hearing some of the challenges. I think it's very easy when you're in somewhere like Silicon Valley to think that all of the world feels the way about technology like Silicon Valley does. And it's important for entrepreneurs to get out in the world and hear about the challenges with technology in other areas.
How different are our challenges from yours? And how similar?
You know, in some ways, the world is very similar. I mean, we're social beings by nature. We desire connectivity, whether it's face-to-face interaction or keeping in touch with loved ones around the world. I do think that in Silicon Valley, there's an attitude of let's disrupt everyone, woo, innovate, disrupt. Whereas in other areas of the world, people have a little more fear, a little more trepidation around technology. So I think it's really important for people from Silicon Valley to understand that not everyone has that gung-ho, disrupt everything mentality. Right. And it's important for people from other countries to get away from their fear and to think about how to embrace the opportunity that connectivity brings.
Thank you so much, Randy. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, likewise.